We owned it. We've owned it for 6 years now. We bought it in July of 2020.
In 2020,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Why did y'all choose to take on something like this? I mean, if you look around, I mean, just looking everywhere, it seems like there's a story everywhere you look, you know? Is keeping history just a part of your passion?
It is, yeah. History's a big passion of mine, and as you can see, we're antique dealers and collectors. So that in itself, we have thousands of years of history here if you were to add all of these pieces up together. And so you take the hotel, and it's just part of our collection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In particular, how did y'all acquire this in general? You know, the past owners, I don't know how long
Right.
they owned it or whatnot. Why were they
Right.
willing to give it over, I guess?
So we don't know much about the past owners, what happened there, but we do know it shut down in about 2018. So it sat vacant for about 2 years. Now, my wife and I have been coming to Jefferson for about 10 years, and so we love the history here in Jefferson. We love the town. People come here to get away from the big city, and that's exactly what we did. We were planning on living out here with our kids later on in life. However, we came out here and this building was up for grabs, and we already had this massive antique collection, so we're thinking, wow, wouldn't this be cool to move the history into this historical building? And, we live here on site now, so now it's also our home.
How it's your home, yeah. So
Yeah.
you just kind of moved up those plans just a little bit.
Yeah.
To now. You guys have kids, maybe?
We
too?
have 5 kids,
Okay,
and so most of them are off to school. 2 of them live here. They love the historical, fact of this building as well. Well, the building was built in 1851, so as far as we know, it's the oldest commercial structure here in Jefferson. It was also built by the founder, Allen Urquhart. He was the founder of Jefferson, one of them, and so it was built by him as a cotton warehouse. Back in the day, the steamships came when the river was much higher, and so they would unload the cotton in here. Well, we didn't know much about the history of the building because it's one of the only buildings out here without a historical marker, surprisingly. We found out that it was a roller skating rink that skated thousands of people in 1906. It was a hotel really early on, I think around 1858, when it first became a hotel. And then it's been probably 30 or 40 different businesses throughout the years. And so that's one of the things that we really loved about it is the colorful, past that it has.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just a hotel and people, stay and everything. So as
Yeah.
far as the layout,
Yeah.
so there's theme rooms on top,
Uh-huh.
and how do you describe the bottom rooms too?
So downstairs we have our suites. They're much larger rooms. They have seating areas. They're kind of set in the Victorian period, kind of set in the old days when this was a hotel. And upstairs, we chose to make this kind of like a living museum. Because you come in here, my wife and I, as a business plan, we didn't want just somewhere where people would just lay their heads on a bed. They look around, it's a museum to them, and, they look at all the artifacts and the history of the place. You can almost feel it, when you're walking around. And so upstairs, we chose to theme out the rooms based off our collection. So, like, we have a nautical room. We have a train room. We had a bunch of mirrors, so we have a mirror room that are all hundreds of years old. What's neat about the upstairs is when it was an old skating rink. We didn't know this at the time when we bought it, so we pulled up the carpets and the old floor, and we're like, wow, look at all this old wood. And sure enough, that's where we found out that it was a roller skating rink.
How did y'all find that out?
It was more just looking through the newspaper archives and searching. This place has had over 40 names, and so when it was the Stutz brothers, they owned it. We found out, we did some search on that, and then we found out that, they had a skating rink upstairs. And so we're like, wow, and you can almost, feel that energy when people were skating upstairs and kind of see what it sounded like, and because it was other businesses downstairs. So it was a livery stable. It was all these different things, too, while that was ongoing. We have hundreds of photos of just what this building used to be as far as, like, the lobby structure has changed. The hotel rooms in the 20s, when the Schluter sisters owned it, they kind of revamped it. That's when it was, back then it would have been a speakeasy, too. We heard whispers of. It's been all those neat little things that people like as well. It's actually a great business, especially, we post a lot of the history that we're finding. People love the new things we're uncovering. They come out and they try to see what new things we've added to our collection, and we're sold out almost every weekend. People come to the front, we do little tours for them, and so it's a really good business.
How long do you see yourself owning this? And
Yeah.
I mean, If you don't have an answer, that's fine.
No, I do. I was telling Mitchell the other day I plan on dying in this building, and so that's how much we love the history and Jefferson and all of that. So it's not something we're going to let go anytime soon. We're going to pass it on to our kids, and they're already fighting for it. In fact, it's super important for the history for us, keeping it alive. And nobody would know anything that's happening that Mitchell has dug up. I mean, to the outsider, it's just an old warehouse. Nobody, would think, but history we're pulling up is super important because, we've had different conventions here, thousands of people, like with the skating rink and all that. Who would have known any of that happened with the history? It's very important to us. We have to have that.
Absolutely, yeah. And what's y'all's hours? Just so
Yeah,
maybe
so
we can preview that.
we're mainly a weekend business. We do open during the week, but with the tourists being a tourist town, it's Thursday through Sunday, basically, is what it is. And check-ins at 3, check-outs at 11 the next day. And we get a bunch of people coming to Jefferson because of the history. And so we're hoping this new book with Mitchell will, bring them here and kind of appreciate the new stuff we've dug up.